Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tune Under podcast. I'm Jack in Brisbane, and I'm with Dimmy, who's down in Melbourne. Dimmy, we're going to talk about the Arsenal game, of course, and then we're going to look ahead a little bit to the Champions League. But just picture this scene for a moment. It's 3:30 in the morning on Monday. Newcastle have just conceded 2 goals in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game to go from winning to losing against Arsenal. You've got to be up for work in a few hours. How did you feel at that exact moment when that second header went into the back of the net?
Rubbish. I actually didn't go back to sleep. I was just saying before, I actually kicked on and watched, because I'm just a sick man. I kicked on and watched the NFL till 6:37 in the morning, and then it was time to wake up. Time to start the day. So yeah, not what you want when you sacrifice 7 hours sleep, and you think, oh yeah, it might be worth it. It could be a big night here. We might get a couple of wins, but that's okay. It's like I keep trying to remind myself, in the last couple of years we've been very spoilt as Newcastle fans. So we're just not used to winning this much, and obviously now we've won a trophy as well. I'm used to us losing, to be honest, in my lifetime, and especially these Monday morning kickoffs. We always used to get the Monday morning Australian time Sky Sports games and get absolutely battered. So it's not as bad as that, but we have copped a lot of late winners this season, and two at home against two of the contenders for the title, which is hard to take. But yeah, it's not ideal on a start to the week before we go to work.
No, so you've been up since 1:15, so good effort.
Yep.
I managed to get another hour or so before I had to get up, but it's probably it's the real graveyard shift. This 1:30 on a Sunday morning. It's horrible time because by the time it finishes, you've got the adrenaline and something's either you're feeling happy and you can't sleep, or you're feeling miserable and angry and you can't sleep. And it's just awful. Like, you're about to start your Monday in the worst possible in the worst possible way. And the the Liverpool game 2 years ago now was, thankfully we obviously beat them in the cup, so that's sort of put that to bed a little bit. But for them to do it this season, and I think that was a Tuesday morning, wasn't it? And then
Yeah, it was.
and then there was this as well. We're only league games into the season, and we've had two injury time defeats against two. They're not really rivals. They're better than us at the moment. I think that's become apparent this season. We probably knew that anyway, but we've given these teams a good game previously. So do you think there's some sort of character flaw or concentration problem in our team for us to be conceding these goals, or is it just that we're not at the level that we should be either this season or in comparison with these clubs who, let's not forget, these two are favourites for the Champions League as well. I looked at the Champions League odds before, and alongside Barcelona and Bayern Munich, they're both the joint favourites. So they're good teams, aren't they? But what is it? Why are we conceding these late goals in this heartbreaking fashion?
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on it, because I mean, especially this season defensively, we've actually been really good, and we haven't really been letting up chances, let alone goals. So you're pretty confident most games that we're going to be strong defensively. Obviously, the two games you touched on, the two games that we've lost this season, the Liverpool game and now the Arsenal game at home, we've obviously come up against seasoned professional teams who have been doing this for a lot longer than we have, and have been challenging at the top end of the table for a lot longer than we have. And scoring late goals is something you've seen it time and time again. Arsenal score late goals, Liverpool score late goals. Obviously, some of it can be attributed to luck sometimes, but obviously it is also just that's what they do. It's you ingrain that belief in your team. And the frustrating thing this morning is, I feel like we've had the wood mentally over Arsenal for a few years now, especially at St James's Park, and you just hope that was going to carry over, and we were trying to hang on in the last 15, 20 minutes. But we'll touch on it in a bit. But when we copped that first goal, you had this horrible feeling, thinking, oh shit, there's still 10 minutes of injury time, whatever it was, and you didn't like our chances that we were going to concede another chance or let alone another goal.
Yeah, I think we lost control of it, and I don't really think we ever had control. We'll touch on some of the refereeing decisions in a bit as well, but I don't want to blame the referee for this. Even though there was a few problems, both teams had cause to be angry about a couple of his decisions. But the truth is, we were second best in this game, weren't we? Me and you talk about the XG when it looks good for us. It didn't look good in this game. We had about 0.5. They had over 2.
Yeah.
So we didn't really lay a glove on them really in this game, and they had the vast majority of the possession. It was a very different performance from Liverpool, wasn't it? Where Liverpool and Barcelona as well, we were really front-footed against Liverpool for most of the game, even though we were down to 10. And then Barcelona, we started really well, and then I think we probably deserved something out of that game. There was just a couple of great goals from Rashford that did for us, and we couldn't get back into it. But this was a bit like the game against Arsenal. I think it was 3 years ago now, where they beat us 2-0 towards the end of the season. Although we obviously got in front of this one and led for a long time, but we were second best, I think, in this game. When we have to be honest and say that we didn't deserve to win this game based on how the game panned out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, we'll touch on some of the big decisions by the ref, but yeah, we were second best. We just didn't look like us, to be honest, and we didn't have that same intensity on the ball or off the ball. It seemed like we were a little bit passive and had, not that we were parking the bus or we were just sitting back and defending for 95 minutes, but we didn't have the intent that we normally do. And Eddie always talks about having the intent to take the game to any team, doesn't matter where we're playing or if we've got 10 men. I mean, even that Liverpool game is a perfect example. We were 2-0 down against the champions, and we took the game to them and we came back to 2-2. And if not for a 97th minute winner, we'd get a point with 10 men against arguably the favourites again to win the championship. So it's frustrating that we're sort of conceding that territory and conceding the initiative at home, especially against a team that I feel can be a little bit flaky and can be bullied mentally. And we have done that to them in the past, especially at home. So it was weird that we did adopt that mentality. I'm not sure if we came into the game with that or it sort of grew into that after the first 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, definitely in terms of balance of play, we weren't really in the game at any stage. And it was only the scoreboard that was keeping us obviously sort of in the game and giving us something to hang on to. Otherwise, if Pope doesn't make a couple of those great saves in the first half, we might have been 2-3 goals down early, and then who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, it was, despite it all, it was shaping up into another classic Newcastle v Arsenal game, wasn't it? Where Arteta completely loses his head at the end of the game. And we were winning. So, like, somehow I think we took our chance really well, and it was a great header. And it was a well-worked set piece as well for once. So that was nice to see. The set piece coach had a positive impact there. And it was another really good header from the striker who apparently can't score goals with his head. So that was a nice moment again as well. But it did feel a bit conservative in a way, didn't it? The team selection was a bit. Nobody knew if it was going to be a 5 at the back with Murphy and Livramento as wing backs, or if it was going to be Dan Burn at left back. I don't think we need to see Dan Burn at left back again unless it's an emergency. And it didn't feel like this should have been a game in which it was an emergency. Lewis Hall, the manager in his minutes, he was fatigued, so he wasn't there. But potentially could have had Tino down out on the left and Trippier on the right. He loves Dan Burn, doesn't he? And we all love Dan Burn, but he also loves Sven Botman, and he wants to get Botman into the team. And Chow's in, and he's looking good as well now. So we've got this strength and depth in centre back. But do you think that it's meant that Eddie is leaning a bit too much into that defence? And this game especially as well, because we need, Arsenal are a big, strong team. They've developed a team of big, strong players, probably because they don't want to get bullied by us every season. That's probably got something to do with it. But we went with the 3 big centre backs, but it was Burn at left back. But he obviously is not very good going forward, so you lose kind of an outlet there as well. So do you think this is just a consequence of these are the players we've got fit, and this has been our strength so far this season. So we're going to play all of our big, strong defenders. And do you think that that could have contributed in the end to the problems we had towards the end of the game, where we had 4 defenders on because Lascelles came on as well when Tino went off injured. So I had so many defenders, which maybe was inviting pressure at that point. We were giving the ball away. I don't know. It feels to me like we might be just leaning a bit heavily into this defensive thing because we've been good at it so far this season. And I think today it might have caused a problem for us.
Yeah, I think you're onto something because, I mean, going forward all season, we haven't really clicked. It's clear for everyone to see that we haven't looked great going forward. We haven't really been battering teams with a hat full of chances. I mean, we should have obviously won that Aston Villa game. We had plenty of chances, and there's been other games where we could have scored more goals than we have. But our going forward play hasn't been crisp and hasn't looked great, if we're honest. And the one thing we have done well is defend, and the big centre halves and anyone really who's played in the back line has had a really good start to the season. Even Pope has had a good start to the season. So I think Eddie's probably trying to massage the team into the season. Like we've spoken about before, we're not fast starters generally. Even attacking wise, we're not fast starters. It sort of takes time for us to get going, and we have that sort of one breakout performance where we kick off after that. But yeah, I think we are leaning into that sort of Eddie Howe season 1 attitude. Second half of the season, if you remember, we weren't scoring that many goals. We were a lot of 1-0s, a lot of 2-1s. It was sort of not backs to the wall, but we were basing our team strength in numbers in defence and sort of a solid base. So I think Eddie is leaning in that way. But I mean, we all have heard Eddie. We know the way he operates. He doesn't want to play this way. He doesn't want to be a defensive team. He doesn't want to be a team that is relying on one goal and nicking a goal from set pieces. So I think at the moment it's needs must with the way it's looking going forward, and he obviously has his plans. But in terms of the lineup, I think he might have overthought it this morning a little bit with Burn at left back. I mean, Burn on Saka is I don't think a matchup that we should be happy to see at any point. And even if you're going to play that way with no wing backs and you're going to play Burn at left back, in my opinion, there's no point playing Jacob Murphy on the right wing. We've brought Alanga in to be our sort of upgraded winger and a player who can get behind defenses and give scare to anybody that he plays against, especially against these big teams where we're going to play a bit more on the counter attack. So for me, that was surprising that he didn't start either. So yeah, look, Eddie is probably just trying to massage some results while we get the attacking flair down. But yeah, I think he might have overthought it this morning.
The balance with Burn 2 seasons ago was good before you had that really bad run at left back at the start of the season after that, where he was like filling in as a third centre back really, and Trippier was going forward, and he had Miggy and Bruno and Longstaff were doing those triangles, so that it worked well then because Burn didn't have to go pushing forward. But the team has developed since then, hasn't it? It's grown, and it's just not comfortable at all seeing Dan Burn at left back against Saka or against anyone, to be honest. Like anyone with pace, he's going to struggle. And it means that Joe Linton has to help him out more and Gordon has to track back as well. So maybe I didn't feel nice when I saw that lineup, and it didn't feel nice throughout the game as well. And then when Lascelles came on, it just was sort of like inviting. I know that was enforced because of Tino, but it was sort of inviting pressure on, and it didn't feel comfortable towards the end of that second half. What's he going to do with Burn and Botman though? Because Burn has been one of our best players, probably apart from Bruno, for the last 2 years, really, and he hasn't put a foot wrong at centre back. But Botman is younger, quicker. He's a better player. He can pass better as well. So, do you think it's going to be a case of you'll have to choose one or the other? Or maybe Botman goes to the right and Burn stays at the left. I just can't see a world where he drops Dan Burn or where he's not picking Dan Burn in as part of his best team. So what's he going to do going forward, do you think?
It's a tough one because probably the one position or the one area of the pitch that you don't want to rotate all the time is defense. You want to have a cohesive defense and a cohesive back four, back five with the goalkeeper every week. So you don't want to be rotating that every week, if I'm honest. But I mean, at this point, Child's looked very good as well. We might speak about him a bit later. He's looked fantastic in my opinion at centre back. So he seems to be worthy of a start at right centre back. And do you want to play two left-sided centre backs, and does that throw your balance out? He's going to have to make the call, and obviously one's going to be upset, and most likely it's going to be Botman who's going to be the one who's going to be rotated out. But I mean, we do have so many games, especially before Christmas, that there's going to be there's no way both players are going to be playing every single game. So it's just going to be form, injury, suspensions up until Christmas. And I think by January he's going to have to make a call when the games might die down a little bit as the Champions League takes a hiatus. He might have to say, okay, look, this is my best back four now. We've just got to stick to that. And if there's an injury, we'll make the change. But we don't want to be doing Rafa the rotator like back in the day when everyone's making changes every game, because that doesn't help the team cohesion either.
Yeah, and Tino's injury could be a problem as well, because it might mean that we need a left back, or if Hall can't play every game, or we need a right back. Howe can play right back as well. He played there a bit for Milan, so we've got options at least at the back. Like I think we'll be okay. It's interesting what he's going to do with Botman and Burn. Botman was so good 2 years ago before he got injured. He was so good that season, and Burn is not a left back, so we'll have to see what happens with it. It'll be interesting to see which way it goes. The attack, the midfield wasn't good today, so it was a difficult game against probably one of the best midfields in the league. Big, strong midfield. Declan Rice is good as always, and then Arsenal brought some really good subs on as well. But the attack, I'm starting to wonder if this is a bigger problem, because up till now we've just kind of thought it'll be fine when we get Wissa and when we get Ramsey in and when he works out what he's going to do with the attack. But it's not getting much better, is it? Sort of game on game, it's not looking like it's improving. Voltemad is doing really well, like by himself, but he's not seeing much of the ball. When he is, he's looking after it well. He's taking nice touches and he's laying it off, and that's what he's good at. That's his game. But it's very different from what we've been used to. And Alanga costs 50 odd million. He's not starting games at the moment, and his end product has not quite been there. Gordon doesn't look like he's in good form, like his best form, and he's obviously missed half the season already because of his suspension. So how concerned are you about this now? Do you think you're still in the camp that it's going to get better and that things will click, or are you starting to worry a bit like last season where he was trying to work out what to do with Tonali and Bruno in the midfield? Do you think something might have to click or might have to happen before things start working with the attack?
I won't say that I'm worried, but I think we need to just sit on a formation. I think Eddie has shown he's versatile this season. We've sort of changed the way we're playing throughout games, from game to game, a lot. And what that means is we're changing a lot of the attacking 4-5 players a lot as well. And there's just no cohesion, and it's not really clicking with any of them. I mean, you got to think as well, Walter Mata didn't have a preseason with his players, so he doesn't know who he's playing with. The combinations aren't crisp. Alanga obviously did have a preseason, but he's been in and out of the team. Obviously, Gordon's been suspended for 3 games, so you're starting, and obviously Wissa got injured in international duty. So I'm still willing to give it a bit of time, but for me, I think we need to start picking a consistent front 3 or front 4, however we want to play it, and give them 3 or 4 games to start in a row. And the thing with attack is you can play them 50, 60 minutes and then take them off and bring on the substitutes, and then say, you give everything you got for 60 minutes and come off. I wouldn't have a problem playing the same attackers game in, game out, at least for 3 or 4 games, and seeing how they go, because we need them to build that chemistry. I mean, there's a couple of times this morning where Gordon, he's beat his fullback, he's cut the ball. There was one time he cut the ball back and there was just no one there. No one read what he was going to do. No one was there for a tap in. It would have been a tap in at the back post for anybody, but no one was there. So for me, I always go back to the fact that Eddie Howe's smarter than me and you. He's smarter than most people. He knows what he's doing, and I trust that whatever combination, whatever method we're trying to do is going to be sorted out. It's just how long is it going to take for us to do it? Because in the league, especially, we're falling a little bit behind, and obviously it's still early days, but we're falling a little bit behind from the top six, and obviously in the Champions League we've got a big game coming up. We don't want to be falling too far behind there too. So obviously it's not panic stations at the moment, but we need to start seeing some results from those attacking threats, and I think the best way to do that would be to start finding a consistent formation, consistent lineup, especially up front.
That's it. It's the system as well, isn't it? Like when we've been at our best, it's been the 4-3-3. So it's been that, and everyone's known what the job has been. And even when players have come in, they've still done sort of the same thing. So it's worked. It's been cohesive, like you say. And then when we've lost, it hasn't necessarily been a system fault. It's been individual player quality, or they've just been gone through a bad patch of confidence or momentum shift. So you look at Crystal Palace, and they've been unbelievable. They've won 18, or they're unbeaten in 18 games since we smashed them 5-0 back in April. But they play three at the back, but it doesn't feel like a defensive formation when they do it. Like they've got wing backs bombing on, and they've got those midfielders buzzing about, and they've got a really mobile forward, Mateta, and it just looks really good, like it works. They cause Liverpool all sorts of problems. But our three at the back, and I know we didn't start with that today, but we have done it. We've played it quite a lot this season so far. But it feels very defensive and very sort of cautious. Like the Leeds game, I don't know why we played it in that Leeds game. That was a real missed opportunity. And I don't know if Eddie was just experimenting at that point, but Bournemouth, I could understand it a bit more because we've got such a bad record there, and we've been defending well, and we've got a good result. And then today we fell into it when Tino went off, but we were sort of getting back into that defensive, really deep system anyway. So I think it is the system and it's the formation, and the 4-3-3 has worked for us. And like you said, football formations are not like they're fluid. They'll move around, and he wants people doing different things. But it's difficult to actually see where the creativity and where the goals are going to come from at the moment. We need to wait for all of our players to be back, but then they'll need to take time to speed up and bed in as well. So it's difficult to see at this stage, and it will happen because Eddie's an attacking coach. Like that's what he wants to be doing, and that's what his teams have always done. It's, if anything, it's that the defenses haven't been as strong apart from that first season we got in the Champions League. So hopefully we'll start seeing over the next few months a bit of cohesion there and a bit more of a settled system and a settled formation. And I think when we get a bit of confidence, and when, like I said, when the players start to get used to each other, things should improve, and they really have to, because the away games have not been pretty to watch this season so far, and we've got 3 points, but we haven't lost away yet. But 3-0 is very not Newcastle United, isn't it?
No, so you take clean sheets, but you're right. You don't want to be drawing a blank 3 games in a row, and something will give. And obviously, we prefer a 0-0 than a 3-3, to be honest. But yeah, I think we need to find that balance a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think Alanga is probably going through a bit of a Gordon education. Like he needs to get Eddie Howe fit, and he needs to understand what Howe wants him to do as well. So these are the big challenges, and we've been here plenty of times before with Eddie where we've worried about certain aspects, and the start of the season has traditionally been a bit slow to get going. So that's why there's still plenty of time, and there's still reasons for optimism. And we were close today. We were close to winning this game, even though we didn't, and we lost it in pretty heartbreaking fashion. Let's just touch on the referee decisions then, because I know that they were controversial. For both teams, Arsenal felt that they were awarded a penalty, which was then reversed by VAR. So let's start with that one, since that happened first. To me, that looked like a penalty in real time, and I think Pope didn't argue it too much. So I was very surprised when our friend Aussie Jared was sent to the screen to have a look. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, live I thought definite penalty, and I was actually worried that he might have sent him off for being the last man when he rounding Pope, but I thought, oh, he's going wide, maybe he won't send him off here. And I thought this could be the risk. And I think Pope initially had that fear. He goes, oh shit, he thought he fouled him, I think, and he goes, oh, I hope there's not a worse outcome here with a card. But yeah, when usually, I mean, 9 times out of 10, when the refs go to the monitor, none of them have the balls to stand up for themselves, and they just bow down to whatever the VAR is telling them to do. So as soon as Aussie Jared got sent to the monitor, I thought, okay, there's something on here. And look, he ended up getting his slightest of touches on the ball first, and because he did get the ball first, and then Jokeres sort of collected him and sort of collided after that, it was sort of null and void. And I mean, Arsenal will say, look, he still fouled him, but at the end of the day, if Pope gets his foot on the ball first, it's I mean, I'm not sure if you'd say good goalkeeping. It's probably a little bit lucky, but you take it from our perspective. I think the way Jokeres sort of flew after the challenge as well made it look maybe a little bit worse for the ref and for everyone watching. But yeah, Popey ended up getting it just about right with his toe, and yeah, we were reprieved. And I was just, yeah, like we're talking about before, I was hoping that was going to be a talking point post game and in a positive result for us, because the tears that you would have seen from Arteta would have been magical.
Everyone was looking at Arteta, weren't they? Like that's what I think everybody's thoughts were, what's he doing? His head's going to explode here. And it wasn't a clear and obvious error, was it? Because if the referee had spotted that to begin with, that would have been an outstanding piece of refereeing. But he missed it.
He wouldn't have seen it.
It was a very slight touch, so
yeah,
it wasn't really an error as such from him, but it was the right decision in the end. It was just that he couldn't see that it would be a good tackle, and he got the ball. So it depends what you want to use VAR. If you want to use it to re-referee games, then it was good because it got the right decision. But if you want the game to flow, and if you want to use common sense, I think it could have just stood. It wasn't enough to say that was definitely an error. But the way Pope was playing, he probably would have saved the penalty anyway. He was on absolute fire in that early part of that game. He's made some great saves. So Jokeres went down. He dived a bit for that one. He got a touch and he went down. Big Nick didn't go down when he got an elbow to the face from Gabriel just after he scored his goal. That was a red card, wasn't it? It should have been a red card. And maybe if he had gone down, then that's basically teaching players, go down, make a meal of it, and you'll probably get what you want. It was red card, wasn't it? It should have been a red card.
Not clear. Absolutely clear. And if we're talking about clear and obvious errors, I mean, you can't go charging at the opposition player with an elbow and hit him in the face. I mean, any forceful contact to the face is a red card. Everybody in football knows that. That's been the same way for a very long time. And the only thing that saved him, I think, was from the kickoff. It was sort of Gillette probably wasn't watching, number one. VAR probably not watching either. The goal just happened for us. They were probably just thinking, all right, 1-0 Newcastle. Let's just check every minute thing of the previous goal like they always do. And maybe they missed it as well, but that can't happen. I mean, you can't charge at an opposition player and get away with it. And you're right. If Walter Mata falls over, and I can almost guarantee you the next time he does cop an elbow or something like that happens, he'll be falling over. I know he said post game that he's not that sort of player, but he'll learn very quickly that the referees, especially in this league, you need to help them and you need to fall over because they're not good enough to determine what a foul is and what a foul isn't. So if he falls over and rolls around like old mate Fabi does, or even Anthony Gordon's a bit of a notorious stager, let's say, no doubt Gabriel goes because he rolls around. The game has to stop because everyone's watching about what Walter Mata is doing. Then they're forced to look at it. Then he's cooked. So, yeah, very lucky, Gabriel. And obviously it was not lucky for us because he was the one who scored the winner in the end. But for me, if you're talking about clear and obvious errors, you got to be watching the game. You got to be seeing that. You can't allow something like that to happen in a football game. That is not a football act. And to me, it was ridiculous that not the referee didn't spot it, number one, but also the VAR didn't tell him to hang on a second. There was a violent act.
Yeah, I wonder if he'd have made more of it, not just falling over, but actually just going to the ref and say, look, I can't play on until this has been looked at, or if you had Bruno as captain there as well. I don't know. I think they tried to do that, but for whatever reason, I don't even know if VAR looked at it, because if they did, surely you've raised your hands. Like all footballers know you can't do that. So you're going to get sent off if you do it. It happens all the time. So you can't raise your hand. You can't touch an opponent's face with your hand. That's what he did. That would have been a very different complexion to the game if they were down to 10 men at that stage.
Yep.
And then the last refereeing decision was the penalty shout we got at 1-1 just after they scored. Alanga goes up and he's putting a cross in, and the ball hits. Who was it? Was it
Gabriel?
Timber or Gabriel again? Okay, yeah. So it's Gabriel again. His arm is not in a natural position. I think the debate about this one was, did it to come off his foot and therefore wasn't intentional? I don't know what the rule is about this, but he had his arm in the air, the ball hit his hand, and then VAR looked at it and said no penalty.
Yeah, this one again, I don't understand. And again, Gillette, for me, didn't have the guts to pay it live. He was right there. He saw it hit the hand, and you could see him freeze. He put his hands by his side as if, oh, no, the Arsenal defender, he had his hands by his side. But clearly he did not. His arm was well and truly in the air. And the thing that annoyed me about this, and everyone's talking about, oh, if it's come off his shin, and even the VAR and the Premier League put out on their Twitter saying, oh, it's come off his shin, so therefore it's the handball's null and void. But if you actually look at the rule, which I did at 4:30 in the morning, as you do, the deflection does mitigate a penalty. However, there is an exception to the rule where your body is in an unnatural position, such as this, and you can't tell me that his body is in a natural position when it's well and truly over his head and it's blocking the trajectory of the cross. And the other thing was, I mean, they keep saying it came off his shin. I don't know, you'd have to have Schnicko, or you have to have the hotspot that used at cricket to see if it actually did hit his shin. I didn't see it hit off the shin. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But for me, that's irrelevant because his hand's well and truly above his head. It's almost if his arm's by his side and it's brushed off his leg and it hit his arm, no problem. But when your arm's above your head, you lose all control and you lose all benefit of the doubt in terms of whether that's a penalty or not. And again, our mate Aussie Jared, he froze and he didn't have the guts to pay a big decision against. Again, not we're conspiracy theorists, but he didn't want to have it pay a big decision in the 88th minute of a big Premier League game, Sky Sports, everyone watching on the UK, against a top 6 club who perennially complain about referees. He didn't have the gall to pay it. So again, we sort of were on the wrong side of that one. But for me, the process and the rules were not applied correctly in that scenario because no one can tell me that's a natural position of a hand.
And it even looked like he'd kicked the ball off Alanga's foot as well. So he
did,
it first, and then it came off Alanga. So, but yeah, like you said, it's really irrelevant. Like his hand was in a place where no defender's hand should be in the box, and then it diverted the ball, and it was a handball. Clearly a handball. I just want to be clear that we're not blaming these decisions for us not winning this game, because we've said before we were well beaten. We didn't deserve to win. We didn't even probably deserve to draw the game. So. But these are fine margins that we were on. I think we were probably on the wrong end of those 3 decisions. I think we were probably on the wrong end of those 2 that would have benefited us. And then even if they had got their penalty, there's still 2 decisions there after that we should have probably got, and that we probably would have got on another day. Like there weren't sort of 50-50 calls, like could have gone either way. I think they were very much sort of 80-20 calls in our favour. Like the red card, it should have been a red card, and then the penalty as well. So it would have changed things, and it would have changed the narrative and the whole feeling about things. If we'd have managed to get a draw or even a win from that game, things would have felt very different. So even though we didn't play well, and even though we're struggling, we still could have won the game, really. And we were playing against, like I said before, Arsenal have got such such strength and depth in their squad now that they're up there as favourites for the league and favourites for the Champions League as well. So they're a really, really strong team. Like they've strengthened. They brought really good subs on. Like they've just got everything. They've spent enough money to get towards this point, and they haven't actually won a trophy since Arteta's first season, whenever it was. So then they need to start winning things now, and they're a really strong team. So we could have got something, we didn't get something. It's another slow start to the season under Eddie. And I'm just going to go through his previous 3 full seasons that he's had. So 22-23, from the first 6 games, we won 1, drew 4, and lost 1. We had 7 points. And then after that, we went 16 unbeaten until February, and we finished 4th that season. 23-24, we won 3 and lost 3 of the first 6, so we had 9 points. And then we had a decent run before that collapse around Christmas time, and we finished 7th. That was when we got absolutely ravaged by injuries. But again, that was like a bit of an inconsistent start. And then last season, we had 11 points. We won 3, drew 2, and lost 1, but we weren't playing well at all, even though we were getting those points. So we were quite inconsistent up until that December period where we played Leicester. We beat them 4-0. And after that, we were in fully Champions League form. We won 15 out of the last 23, and we finished 5th. So this time we've got 6 points. We've had our 2 hardest home games against the 2 title challengers, probably. We've had a couple of difficult away games at places that we usually struggle at. So do you think that this is like a pattern, a problematic pattern that is a feature of Eddie Howe's management, and then the streakiness that goes with it as well? Or do you look at this the other way and say this is actually positive because it means that we're probably going to improve because we always do this? How do you view this start to the season?
Yeah, you know me, I'm usually a glass half full, overly optimistic person, so I'm going to say option B. But to be honest, it's the thing with Eddie's teams, he's done it, except for the season that we were completely ravaged with injury. He wants us to peak as the season goes on, and that's the way it should be. And we obviously work, and we don't know exactly what happens in preseason, but we know they train very hard, and we know that Eddie wants his players to work as hard as possible because we play that high intensity game and that high intensity football. So the fact that we've started slow is not a surprise because, like you said, it has happened before to us. I think where it becomes a concern is if we're still talking about the same struggles, if we're still a point per game in 2 months' time, then we're struggling and we're in trouble. But for now, it's not too dissimilar from previous seasons. And I mean, even that first season where we finished 4th, I remember that game. We were up in Sydney watching for the Aussie Mags meetup, and we were terrible. It was a 1-1 draw against Bournemouth. We were walking out of that game saying, "Far out, we are no good. We're nowhere near it. What's going on?" And lo and behold, 6 months later, we've made the Champions League. So things turn very quickly with Eddie's teams, and he won't panic. And it's important that the supporters as well don't panic because we've seen Eddie turn it around before. And it's not as if we're cellar dwellers and writings on the wall and we have to sort of circle the wagons. It's just we've had a couple of really tough last minute defeats. And I mean, hindsight's great and you can't say ifs and buts, but I mean, you take the 2 97th minute goals away, we've got 8 points from 6 games. That looks a little bit more decent. And then there you are. And then you're probably thinking, okay, we've had a very tough start to the season in terms of the fixtures, but we've managed to pick up a decent points total. So I think the jury's still well and truly out. And given the way we've dealt with the slow starts previously, you back Eddie and you say, yeah, we'll turn this around.
Bit of confidence, that's what we need, and a bit of momentum. And the performances they've probably actually been a bit better than last season, even when we were actually winning games. So apart from Leeds was disappointing this season, but those games will happen, and we have to learn from them and move on from them. And the good thing is the fixtures get a little bit easier on paper at least. So the next 5 league games, we've got Forest at home. They're having a really bad run. Got Brighton away, which we never do well there, but we we don't always lose. We sometimes draw. But then we've got Fulham at home, we've got West Ham away, and Brentford away. So what do you think we need to see from these games to have we still want to be aiming for top 5, I think. And the problem is, like I said, we don't want to get too far behind in this race because it'll be hard to claw that back even at this early stage. But what do you think we actually need to see in terms of points from those 5 games? And then that's before we've got another international break after Forest, and then we've got those 4 league games before the next international break. So what you're looking for from those and league position after those games, which will be 11 games gone. What do you think we need to be looking at for the season to be back on track?
I hope we're aiming for at least 10 points from those 5 games. I think that's achievable. 3 wins and 2. No, that's 11 points. 3 wins and 2 draws. I'm going to count it. Can't do maths. At least 10 points, I think, from 5 games is doable. And I mean, people forget, even last season, I'm pretty sure going into that Leicester game, we were 12th on the table because we just got battered from Brentford 4-2 and we had a negative goal difference. We were not on the ropes, but we were really struggling back then. And we're nowhere near those levels at the moment. And obviously not at the time of the season. That Leicester game wasn't until December, like you said. So I think if we can get 10 points from the next 5 league games, at least that'll put us on 16 from 11, and then that gives us a bit of a platform that probably should be around about mid-table or 10th, 9th, and then we can sort of launch up until Christmas, because with Eddie's teams, and we've done it really every season with him, once we win 2 in a row, we can win 3 in a row, 4 in a row, and we can go on runs for weeks and weeks. So we just got to get that first 1 or 2 wins in a row, get the momentum going, and we are a momentum team, momentum club, and we just got to get that started. Hopefully that starts in the Champions League in a couple of days.
Yeah, and I think the Forest game is really important. I said before these 4 league games ending in Forest that if we can get 8 points from them, then that would be good. That was Wolves, Arsenal, Bournemouth, and Forest. So we can't get 8, but we can get 7. So we'd be 1 down on what I thought would be a good return with those fixtures. So we're not that far off, and we've got the Champions League game coming up as well. The commitment's not a problem, is it? Sometimes when teams are in dodgy form, like the commitment's not there, and the players carry the heads are dropping, and the motivation's not there. But that's definitely not the problem here, is it? I think it was last season, and that's well documented now that the players were unsettled after the summer, and everyone thought they were for sale. He had to have strong words with some of the senior players about what was going on, and then he sorted them out for that run around Christmas time. But you can tell that the players are all fighting now. It's not quite clicking, and when it does, that's when it's going to start working well, and he'll know what to do, and he'll have plans for it, and I'm sure he'll have confidence. But he's got to be encouraged, hasn't he, by the players and by the attitude, because even though we've conceded these late goals, it's been against, like I said, it's been against 2 of the strongest teams, and it's been different circumstances. But it's not because the players are phoning it in, or a lack of desire, or those intangibles, is it? You can see from the players that they're giving everything, and that there's a good feeling within the group, and he said that a few times.
Yeah, there's no pointing, there's no arguing on the pitch. The players are together, where the spirit is still high, and that's the one thing we've always had under Eddie. We've always had great spirit, and we've always had that commitment and that team camaraderie, and like the club said, that no dickhead policy. We don't have dickheads in the squad. They don't work in the squad, and that takes us a long way and takes us through these hard times. And I mean, it's not like this is a really hard time, but obviously it is a slowish start for us and what we're used to. We are used to winning a lot of games under Eddie, but I mean, people do have short memories too. If you look back in the first 2 games of this season, I mean, yes, Villa had 10 men, but we completely battered Villa, and we completely battered Liverpool. And Liverpool, we had 10 men for 40 minutes, and we still battered them. So the performances, I think, yes, some games have been a little bit scratchy, like that Leeds game, and the Bournemouth game was obviously, we came there for the point, but there still is signs that we've got a good team, and I'm sure that we've still got a very good team and a very good squad. It's just about gelling. It's just about changing sort of the momentum of the results, and maybe it is going to take a couple of scrappy results initially just to get us going again. And confidence flows. So yeah, I'm not worried with anything like that. The commitment and the team spirit is never going to be questioned.
Let's have a think about the Champions League game then, because we've got another game coming up in a couple of days' time. It's Thursday morning, 2:45 for us, which is probably even a worse time than 1:30, because by the time you wake up, by the time this game's finished, it's 4:45, and it really is like, very close to time to get up. So this is pretty brutal for us. But anyway, we've got Union Saint-Gilloise, who themselves are in pretty phenomenal form. I think they've won 7 and drawn 2 of their first 9 league games. And they beat PSV away in the Champions League, which I think was a bit of a surprise for people who might not know much about this team, which I don't. I only know that they're owned by Tony Bloom, or part owned by Tony Bloom, which makes me worry that there might be a bit of a Brighton copy. And they've got a Geordie defender as well. I saw a thing on Twitter about when they got us in the draw. They were very pleased about that. But this is actually a game with a bit of pressure on it, because we probably need to win 4 of our last 7 games to qualify for the playoff round. We've already lost 1 to Barcelona, obviously. What do you know about Union Saint-Gilloise, and how do you see this game playing out? How important do you think it is as well in the context of the season and the Champions League campaign?
Yeah, it's big for positive momentum. I wouldn't call it a must-win game, because there's still 7 more games or 6 more games after this one in the Champions League phase, but it's definitely crucial for us just getting some sort of positive momentum around the squad and around the team, because I mean, we've only won 1 game. I mean, we did beat Bradford as well, but we've only won 2 games now in first 2.5 months of the season. So there's not a lot of winning going on, not a lot of positive feelings in terms of results. We want to start turning that around and making sure the confidence remains high. But in terms of what I know about this team, not a whole lot, other than that they're top of their league at the moment and they're in unbelievable form. I did watch a bit of the highlights of their game against PSV. PSV didn't look great, and the defending was a bit shambolic for some of those goals that they scored. But I mean, it's a team that I'm sure are going to feel like they can. They'll look at us as we will look at them as a chance to get the 3 points, and I think that will probably suit us. I do worry against the teams that sit in that low block, and I still think that we have a bit of kryptonite against those sort of teams. But this team won't be one of those. They're not going to sit back against us. They'll attack us. They'll play their football, and I think that'll suit us. And the other advantage I think we might have in this tie is they're actually not going to be playing at their home ground. Their home ground's not, I don't think, UEFA compliant, so they're going to be playing at Anderlecht Arena, which is a 20-odd thousand seat stadium. So I'm not sure how many Geordies are making the trip to Belgium, but I'm sure it'll be a raucous away scene, and that might just help us because it'll be sort of a neutral ground for them as well, so to speak. So look, it's a big game for us to get some positive momentum, and yeah, a win would be perfect, but I think a draw wouldn't be the worst result.
You like to think, don't you, that where the Premier League team, we've got the international players, we really should be favourites to win this game, and they're a pot 4 team as well. So we're going to have to win some away games in the Champions League at some point if we want to progress, especially after losing that first game. Although we played pretty well against Barcelona, and we were just beaten by those 2 wonder goals. And then their quality showed through. But this is a real sort of like European away game, somewhere where we should actually do quite well. And I think I agree. I think we need to not lose this game, and I really think we need to be looking at winning, probably, because we've got 2 home games coming up after this, and then if we can get through them with 7 to 9 points, I think that'll put us in a pretty decent position. But it's a good experience. It would be good, even though it's at that horrendous time. I think this is the only one. All the rest are in the morning, so 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. whenever the clocks change. So yeah, we will be back to talk about that game after that, and hopefully let's get a bit of positive momentum going, and we'll see you all in the next one. Anything else to add, Timmy? You're going to go to bed now?
Yeah, probably due to sleep. I probably think I've stretched myself out a little bit little bit too much. I'm a bit scratchy at the moment, but that's okay. It's things you do for the teams you love. But look, I think the best thing that we've got now as Newcastle fans is we've got games every 3 days. So we're not going to dwell on a result like this. We don't have to sit on it for a week and a half. We got another game in 3-4 days, and hopefully, like you said, we get the chocolates in Belgium and get, pardon the pun there, but we get the positive momentum going at the club.
We need some good news from Tino as well. That didn't look nice.
Well, it's not ACL. That's the
it's
word
not? Okay.
No, yeah. So I think Luke Edwards put out on his Twitter that it's definitely not his ACL, but it could mean significant time. So it could be a PCL or a medial. So that might still be 2.5, 3 months out. But that might not be the worst result for us, considering it did look like an ACL injury, given the way he landed, and sort of he sort of knew straight away it was something serious. And when he didn't get up and had to get stretchered off, you feared the worst. But if it's only, I mean, I'm not going to say only PCL or medial, but if it's a 2-month or 3-month injury, I think that's not the worst result after what it could have been.
You're in big trouble if it's an ACL now. You're not coming back on this podcast anymore.
Dr. Dimmy's got a pretty good strike rate. So let's see.
Right, well, go and have some sleep, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.